All right. I think we have a start and maybe people joining a little later, but we will start with the presentation now. A very warm welcome to everyone. My name is Martine van der Does. I'm the Helen Hamlin Humanitarian Fellow and Global Program Director at the Institute of International Humanitarian Affairs at Fordham University. And I'm also the director of the International Diploma in Humanitarian Assistance, which will be held in Amman from 1 to 27 November this year. And that's what this information session is about. So we'll give you a short presentation, and afterwards we have a few alumni from the IDHA online as well. Very warm welcome to you as well. And they will give a little bit about their perspective and how they experience the IDHA, and you will have a chance to ask questions as well. Let me first say something about the Institute of International Humanitarian Affairs. It's an institute that is based in New York at Fordham University in the Bronx. It's an institute that offers lots of humanitarian trainings, online and in person. And we have an undergraduate and a graduate program. We also have a master's degree in New York. So lots of opportunities there. We organize conferences as well. There's a conference coming right up in the beginning of September in New York. There's a book press. We have a podcast, Humanitarian Fault Lines, that's run by Jamie McGoldrick, which I highly recommend to listen to. Very interesting topics. So there are lots of initiatives we're taking. The International Diploma in Humanitarian Assistance has been around for a little longer than the Institute itself. It was established in 1997, and we're already in the 61st iteration of the International Diploma in Humanitarian Assistance in Amman. So it's a course that has been around for a long time, and it was established at a time that there were no humanitarian trainings, and a few humanitarian people thought, if doctors are being trained to be doctors and nurses are being trained to be nurses, why isn't there a training for humanitarians? So they learned more about the humanitarian field, and that's how the program was established. It's a 4-week residential, very intensive program, and I think our graduates here, alumni here, can acknowledge that it's a very intensive program. But it's a good program as well, because you get to know people from all over the world. It's challenging. You get to work very hard. You learn a lot. There's a lot of information, a lot of lectures pushed in 1 month of education. There's 200 hours of studying, but I can guarantee you make friends that will stay friends the rest of your lives. I've done the IDHA myself in 2008. And I'm still in touch with people who lectured on the course. One of them is online here as well, but also people who were students at the same time, and they're one of my best friends at the moment. So it's a very rewarding course in many circumstances, and it has served my career as well. I came across many alumni in the field, and that helped me a lot in my work as well. So Lily, maybe you want to introduce the team for us.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. My name is Lily. I'm the Communications Officer for the Institute of International Humanitarian Affairs. And I've had the pleasure of promoting the International Diploma in Humanitarian Assistance, the IDHA, for almost 2 years now. So Martine van der Does, she has introduced herself. She has decades of experience in the field, in the humanitarian field. She has worked with MSF, the Netherlands Foreign Service, ICRC, and joined us as the Global Programs Director last year. And as Martine mentioned, she's also an alumna of the IDHA herself from 2008. And she has joined us for the master's program as well. So she has her master's in humanitarian action from the IIHA. Next, we have Brennan Cahill. He's our executive director here at the IIHA since 1997, and he oversees all of our programs. You will meet him virtually when the IDHA 61 begins. And I introduced myself. I go by Lily. You'll definitely be hearing from me more once the program is underway. And next we have Anthony Land or Tony Land. You will meet him during the program. He's a tutor. He has worked with various NGOs in Southeast Asia during the 1970s and 1980s. He's worked with UNHCR for a very long time and many more organizations, and has been very involved with the IIHA since the early 2000s. I'm pleased to introduce you to Gonzalo Sanchez-Terrain. He is also a tutor and has been a tutor in the IDHA for many years. You'll meet him in Amman. He had worked for the Jesuit Refugee Service from 2001 to 2015 as country director, and has, again, decades of experience in the humanitarian field. I'm also joined by our program officer, Luciani De Leon. She is a graduate of Fordham University, and she's been our program officer for also almost 2 years. And she, you may have interacted with her via email over your applications, and she'll be going over some additional information on the application and tuition and costs around the program in just a few minutes. So you'll also meet her virtually soon. And as Martine said, we're joined by a couple of IDHA alum who you'll get to meet, and we're also joined by Jair Alvarez Flores, who is helping run the show today. So thank you. Oh, Martine, did you want me to go over the previous slide? I'm happy to. This one?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Just so you all have the information, the basic information up on the screen, feel free to take a picture or write this down. Note the application deadline is October 20th. The earlier you get your application in, the more we can help you figure out details. You'll see that the Toledo Hotel is listed. That's where mostly everyone stays during the course, during the 4 weeks. And yes, but before the application deadline, we have a welcome session scheduled for those who have been admitted into the program. So you'll get that email when you've been admitted closer to October. And if anyone has any questions around this information, we'll have a Q&A at the end. And I'll go.
And we have a chat as well. You can put your question in a chat if you like.
Yeah, if you're afraid you'll forget your question, feel free to write it in the chat. We just may not answer it until the end. Martine will talk a little bit more about your daily schedule, but here's just an example. It's also listed on our website. As you can see, you have a pretty busy day.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Lily. And just to emphasize the importance of getting your application in on time, so we can make sure that we process it in the right time, and that that you will get your Fordham account before the course starts. And also note that the places on the course are limited, and that also accounts for the scholarships we have available. So the earlier you send in your application, the better. The IDHA program, you basically develop skills in 4 main areas, and the first area is the humanitarian basics and the foundations of the humanitarian sector, which really focus on international humanitarian law, the humanitarian principles, and other basics you need to know about the sector. So it really lays a foundation for the rest of the course. The second area we focus on is sectors. So maybe you know a lot about a specific sector, a shelter sector, the health sector where you work in, but you also get to learn more about other sectors like education, mental health, WASH, shelter, logistics. They're all topics that we will address during the course. And then the third area is more of a case studies and ethical dilemmas. that we discuss with you, and you get a chance to work in groups as well and to really think certain dilemmas or certain issues through and discuss them with your co-students and do presentations around it. And you get to hear from other people who are working in the field, really first-hand information about people who come from conflict areas, present about their work. And then the fourth area is you as an aid worker yourself. So how do you survive in an environment that can be really harsh and difficult to stay healthy in? So you get first aid, but also personal health, and you get to learn about team building. And we have Florian online here who's teaching that as well, team building and management of teams. So you develop skills in that area as well. So these are just examples, what you see on the slide, what a day looks like. Days are really full. So we start every day between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, and we continue until 5 or 5:30. And there's evening work as well in some weeks, on some weekdays. And you get to study for exams. So this schedule shows a few lectures that will be given, but we also do field trips. So we go out of the classroom, we go visit projects in the field, and really see what humanitarian aid is about. So the program is really diverse. It's not always 9 to 5 lectures, but this is just an example of what it looks like. And then I think I hand over to Luciani for some practical information.
Thank you, Martine. So if you're interested in continuing your application or starting your application, these are the requirements. You just need to upload a resume or cover letter and then a letter of intent. This is just to specify why you're interested in joining, why you think you'd be a good fit. And then we are also expecting that you are fluent in English. You will not be tested. However, this is very important considering that this is a graduate level course. So if you're not fully comfortable with the English language, you may struggle with the course, and this can impact your chances of succeeding in the end. Okay, so once you complete your application with the requirements, if you are admitted, then it is your decision to continue to enroll. In order to be enrolled, you must pay the deposit fee, which is $500, which is also part of your tuition as a whole, and then also respond to the reply form. This is just stating that we should definitely expect to see you in November in Amman, and then after that, you will then be registered in the appropriate course section. There are 3 course sections, which I will explain in a couple of seconds. And then after you are registered, you will then have access to your student account, your e-bill, your student email, and Blackboard. And if you're having any IT related issues, this is the IT contact on the bottom. They should be able to assist you. Okay, so as I mentioned, there are 3 course sections. There's 2 international fees and then 1 regional. So regional is anybody that is part of the MENA region, so Middle East and North Africa. And then international is anyone that is not part of that. So it could be any country from Europe or even the US. So there are 2 separate international fees because one covers academic credit. So this is mostly for people who are interested in continuing their studies, so getting a master's or currently enrolled in a master's program. And if you're not interested in going back to school or you have no plan to do so, the fee is $6,121, and then if so is $6,500. That is the only difference between these 2 fees. Everything else is the same, so it covers the coursework, the hotel, weekday meals, and transportation is not included in any of the 3 course sections. So for regional, this only covers coursework and weekday meals with a complimentary 2 coffees, and transportation is also not included. So anyone who registers for the regional course section will be responsible for their accommodations. And please note that tuition must be completely paid off before the start of the course. So this is not just including the $500 deposit fee, it's the full tuition. Okay. And as mentioned, these are the details for IDHA 61. These are the dates, and it will be located in Amman, Jordan.
So this brings us to the end of the information presentation. And as we mentioned before, we have 3 alumni online as well. We have Florian Rasensberger, who is an alum from IDHA 20 and is currently a lecturer with us as well. And he will be in Amman as well for part of the course. We have Rick Fernandez, who is from IDHA 39. And is still very involved with the Institute and actually did a webinar recently. If you've missed it, maybe you can find it still online, or there will be another one coming up. I'm not sure. Then we have Haymond, who is our one of our most recent graduates from the IDHA. He was a part of the IDHA 60 in Pretoria. So all 3 of them will have different perspective from different times on the IDHA. And I think I'll start with Florian, maybe if you can share some of the things you've learned or that you remember from your IDHA that have helped you in your career.
Yes, completely. Thank you very much, Martine. So this is Florian. I'm calling from Baghdad in Iraq. I work here for the United Nations as a senior human rights officer for the last couple of years. And when I did the IDHA, it was a long time ago already, almost 2 decades, in 2006. And I must say it was the best educational experience I had in my life. And this is for a couple of reasons. I mean, as Martine mentioned already, I'm a lawyer, so this is my background. And my academic studies up to 2006, were very much like a lawyer gets it, which means lots of theoretical knowledge. You study by yourself, and very often there's this attitude of you and the others. So when I came to the course, and the motivation for me to come to the course was to just find out a little bit more, widen my horizon. Back then I was already working in the field on human rights, but I did not know very much about everything around me in terms of agencies, actors, roles, and mandates. So when I came to the course, to my shock, I learned that I will not only be graded as an individual, but also as a group, as a member of a team, which was first, I was a little bit scared of it, but then it was a wonderful experience at the end of the day. So this was one thing that made it outstanding. The second thing, what my team said already, is it's an extremely intense course over 4 weeks, and you will put a lot into it, but you will also get a lot out of it. So the more you put in it, the more you get out of it. And I, for one, got a lot out of it, in particular, because it's also not the classical theoretical academic teaching I knew from before, but you get really the top experts from the field and practitioners. It's always up to date. It's always about the latest developments, and you just get it from those who see it and who have to deal with it on a daily basis. So for me, the IDHA came just at the right time. It gave me the right impetus to even get more engaged in the field. And since then, I was lucky enough also to come back as a lecturer to the course. So over the last 2 decades, I have been there very, very often, presenting on human rights, humanitarian law, but also other topics. And for those of you who will be joining in November, you will also see me in action there. And my motivation to go there is basically, first of all, to present about those topics I am very passionate about, but also to have this exchange with the students, with the other tutors, with the people. And this is the main motivation for me, and the best memories I took away from the course. It's all about the people. And it's every single course I've been, there have been wonderful people, great memories. And I can tell you, once you go away from the course, you'll meet them all over the world in case you work in the field. As mentioned before, I'm sitting here in Baghdad, and I'm not sure of into how many IDHA graduates I bumped into Iraq, at least 7 or 8 or 9, something like this over the last years. So you meet the people again, you make friendships for life, and it is just a wonderful experience. I think I'll leave it there, Martin, but I'm very happy to answer any questions, should you have any.
Thank you very much, Florian. So let me hand it over first to Rick. And then if anyone has a question, you can raise your hand or you can put it in the chat. Rick, over to you.
Yes, great. Well, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Speaking about the IDHA and my IDHA experience is one of my favorite topics, so this is a special treat for me. First, I want to say to everyone listening, this is World Humanitarian Day, so if you go to IDHA and learn about our community, and if you're already in it, you certainly know the importance of this day. So I'm very happy to be here speaking to you today. My IDHA experience was a little bit different. I was coming from government, specifically local New York City government. I was with the agency known as the New York City Emergency Management Department, which is the New York City government agency responsible for planning, responding to, and recovering from emergencies in the city. So as a government person, coming into an NGO space, I was a little apprehensive, even though my role in the city was to coordinate with local NGOs. So it wasn't, NGO professionals weren't foreign to me, but international NGO professionals were. But the IDHA community is a very welcoming one, and they meet you where you're at, and they do that with everyone. And then that spirit is infectious. So you just get in and you start and you do all of the work that people have been talking about. And you make these wonderful connections through that work. One thing that I like to talk about the most is that when you're with professionals from all over the world who have working in different contexts and working in different sectors, in addition to the classroom lectures, you get to hear everyone else's perspective at lunch or during the break. And, during meals and in evenings, you do what I call talk shop, right? Well, we did, when we had this hazard or we had this problem, we solved it this way. And someone else can say, well, that wouldn't work in the context I'm working in because of this, that, and the other thing. And so you get these informal simulations of problem solving from everyone else's experience, in addition to the wonderful lecturers and the wonderful course materials. And that was the most valuable thing for me. And then just feeling, just the wonderful intellectual feeling that you're not alone, right? I mean, humanitarian action is a team sport. We have different sectors and different partners and different stakeholders that you always need to work with. Doesn't mean you always agree, but you all need to pull in the same direction in order to alleviate suffering. And the IDHA month is sort of like that in microcosm, because the only way you get through that month is through the encouragement of your classmates and the support of your lecturers and the teaching staff. And it is a wonderful, hard time, and it's just wonderful to have an opportunity to take time out and speak to other professionals. Obviously, our focus in our work is the people who have been affected by the crisis we're responding to. But I feel part of self-care is taking yourself offline and talking to your peers. And so that offered me, after 2 major hurricanes, 5 major snowstorms, about 21 heat waves, and multiple building vacates, it offered me this wonderful month where I could speak to professionals from all over the world about my experience. They can about my experience, about their experience, and we could learn from each other. But we could also get wonderful moral support from each other for that month. And then, if you're lucky enough to stay in touch, there forever after. So I encourage you all to apply, and I hope that you will all enjoy your time as much as I did. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. And that also shows how much experience students bring to the class. So it's not only learning from the people that come lecture on the course or come teach you on the course, but there's also a lot of experience usually amongst the students that we have in the classroom from all corners of the world. So yeah, it's a very enriching program in that sense as well. In the meantime, I've put up a slide with our social media, which you can maybe scan or take a picture of as well. I would now like to hand over to Haymond, who is our most recent graduate, to share his experience with the IDHA in Pretoria this year.
Hi everyone. I hope you can all hear me. And that my IT is working well. Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Florian and Rick have have explained in detail. So I think I'd just like to give you a very brief idea of my background and how I thought I was literally an outsider to humanitarian aid. I have a health science background, so I'm a toxicology scientist. I risk assess basically invisible hazards that can affect populations. So anything dealing with sort of a chemical or a toxic potential that can harm people. My agency, as well as other health bodies, will investigate and advise the public. So, my interest in international work was mainly from my mission to Vietnam that occurred in 2017. But as a government agency, we've also responded to incidents involving British citizens overseas or where there are British interests, such as the Sri Lankan trawler incident, for example, or the explosion, ammonium nitrite explosion in Beirut. So I and alongside my team were getting more drawn into providing advice for these international incidents on behalf of the Foreign Office. This really kind of spurred my interest in working in challenging contexts, or what we would sometimes call post-conflict contexts. The skills that I needed in Vietnam were really I really needed to hone in on aspects of cross-cultural communication, working with interpreters, and I found out that technical skills are important, but that soft skills shouldn't really always be relegated to being called soft. Communication skills and understanding others are equally important. So I was wanting a pre-deployment course, as it were, as I see myself getting more engaged in the international space. And as you'll probably find out, the Fordham course is extremely prestigious. There are a number of other courses, pre-deployment courses available, but the IDHA is probably the most prestigious course available, as well as other governments that do host their versions of courses. It's an inspiring course. All the tutors come with a whole range of personalities, and over the month, you get to see the wealth of their background. They don't always tell you up front where they've been to or what situations they've gotten themselves into and how they've navigated themselves and helped people in a team setting. But they'll gradually tell you in their lectures, or they'll indirectly give you an experience, and you'll find out individually that this person's worked in Myanmar or this person's worked in Iraq. That so many interesting and very qualified professionals. But not only that, the lecturers are very human as well. In universities, it can feel quite impersonal in how lecturing is given, but the lecturers do relate to students as a community, and I sensed that from the offset that the lecturers really wanted to know about the student cohort as people. You know, they would ask each and every one of us for our perspectives, and they would consider them, and sometimes they would really challenge us. You know, they'd say, you know, I understand your viewpoint, but have you seen it from this viewpoint? So when you're regarded as an equal, you're regarded as a peer in a learning community, and I found that very inspiring. And another thing that I found that was very impactful were the the situations you would find yourself in. You know, I went to Pretoria, so maybe my experience deviates from your experience to be had in Amman soon. I remember being shown around in a very dignified way around a series of townships in South Africa. What's called the area is called Mamelodi, and you know, through Martin's associations, this professor who showcased the project that he was coordinating alongside other NGOs. He showed us real challenges, but also real camaraderie in the community as well. And I found that I found that more than eye-opening. I could see it up front. And I guess you'll be shown or be invited to attend field trips, and you'll see so many different interactions between people, but also how people work behind the scenes to get a community going and to really, you know, foster a sense of engagement. Um, don't get me wrong, the course is intensive. I came from a scientific background, and when Florian would sit us down and in a very interactive way relay the essence of international laws, and then Martin would go through shelter and other technical sectors. It's a lot to take in, but it's not the experience you'll get at university. There's a lot of onus on self-discipline. There's also a real priority in making sure that you know your other students well, and that you draw on other people's strengths, because studying as a group really does make a difference. And a lot of the transferable skills that you'll gain in this course will carry over. Um, you know, it's we had this massive celebration at the end of our course, and people were literally, they were outstanding that they could actually they completed the course, and that the month went by so fast. It is no joke how fast that month goes. It was literally a month outside of my work to really just be a reflective emergency management professional. And it was the amount of knowledge, with the peppering of field work, with the one-to-one engagement with the lecturers, of them imparting their experience, and how we were faring in the humanitarian or response space. It's yeah, you come away from that month with just great memories, knowledge, connections, and I think most importantly, a real sense of solidarity in the humanitarian space. Um, and yeah, I've got nothing but a really good memories from that course, and I would do it again. I would easily do it again, no sweat. Even though it was very challenging, it's the memories.
Thank you, Haymond, and we'd love to have you again, although you would pass the test very easily, then, I guess. Thank you, all three of you, for sharing your ideas and your experiences. I'm really looking forward to hear from the people online. If you have any questions or remarks, questions for us, or questions maybe for the alum. And Lily put into, or Jahi put in the chat as well, the social media links where you can follow us. So if you have a question, jump right in, raise your hand, or whatever is easy for you. We're open for questions now. And here's the page with the social media links as well.
While we wait for questions, and I always love the questions we get, they're always so good. Included in Jair's comment is our Medium blog. We've recently posted stories from IDHA students and alumni, so I encourage you to head to our blog that's listed last on that list in the chat. Continue reading about the experiences of our alumni. I think Florian raised his hand.
Yeah, thank you. Just to add one brief point, and basically I'm also building up on what Haymond and Rick said. I think there are now, even more so than before, two big strengths. And one is the course in the past was held very often in New York and in Geneva, and now it's basically exclusively in what some refer to as the Global South. But you know what I mean. So places like Pretoria, Nairobi, Amman, actually places where humanitarian assistance happens also in the field, or at least extremely close by. And as a result, you have then the agencies who are also working in the field there that we can bring into the course every now and then. And also the participants are, to a certain extent, from the region, which is, of course, extremely helpful in the understanding of issues. Also, one thing, if you are like me, when I did the course, not a humanitarian worker, you should, or also Haymond comes from a different background, you shouldn't be intimidated, because all of us experience we can bring to the course. The majority of people might be humanitarian workers that are in the field, but the beauty of this course is also that you get very different people from very different backgrounds. I would not be surprised if, for example, a former soldier is sitting in the course, or who knows, a priest we have every now and then, sometimes people coming from the corporate world. The majority will be from a humanitarian background, but I also experienced sometimes that people who come outside, and I was a lawyer, not from a humanitarian background, I felt a little bit, will I know enough, and am I the right person? You will be the right person, because you have your experience, and that will add tremendously to the course.
Thank you, Florian. Are there any questions? Or is everything very clear?
Rick actually asked a good question from everybody. And maybe anyone who's attending this session could write where they're from and their organization in the chat. I think that's a great idea. But you do have another question from Elena.
Of Florian's point of location, how much is Amman focused for context of the course in comparison to Pretoria? I think you mean how much of the context is being discussed during the course in Amman, Elena, is that right? Yes, okay, very much so, because basically everyone we have lecture on the course who is outside the tutor team is regional and is somehow involved in, I think you mean the Gaza crisis at the moment. Gaza is very, very close to Amman, and yeah, it's very prominent in the response that's happening for Amman, because there are airdroppings being done by the Jordanian government. Lots of countries are supporting that. And there's the land route of aid going to Gaza from Jordan. So lots of organizations are preparing trucks in Jordan, and a lot of the response community is in Jordan present. Of course, as well, the response for Syria is happening, or has been happening over the past years from Jordan. Also Iraq, also Yemen. There's a large community of aid workers based in Amman who are in charge of the response in Yemen. So yes, it's an international hub, and of course there are lots of programs being run in Jordan itself as well, because Jordan is hosting lots of refugees from the region. So we cannot hold a course there without discussing what's happening in Amman. But you will also have case studies from other parts of the world, because our tutor team works all across the world, and they bring in experience from African countries, but also from Asia, from other countries in the Middle East, from all over the world. I hope this answers your question.
Maybe if I can just add something, Martin, that naturally, I think what we always try to cover is the most important big crises that are currently happening. And you mentioned just Gaza, of course, Sudan, Ukraine will be a topic, Yemen will be a topic. So whatever is at the moment really big and has to be discussed will be discussed there. But for the good thing also, if you do a course in Amman, is that you get then agencies in. They are also there on the ground. Be it now UNRWA, we could not get in Pretoria because they are just not there. Or in Pretoria, you get then others that you would not have in Nairobi or in Bangkok or anywhere else. So on the one side, really taking advantage of the location, but on the other side also, as Martin just said, making sure that the whole the world is covered.
Thank you, Florian. I see a couple of questions. Thank you, Leo, for your mentioning where you're working. And then there is a question if we have scholarships available. Yes, Luciani already spoke about it. We have regional scholarships available. Just make sure if you want to apply for a scholarship, you send in your application for the IDHA and add a letter of where you apply for a scholarship as well. I don't know, Amos, if you were online when Luciani spoke about the scholarship, but maybe we can quickly go back to the slide of the scholarships and have a small recap. Lily, can you put the presentation back on?
So Martine actually did not touch upon the scholarships. So the regional fee is a special fee for regional students. However, in regards to scholarships, we prioritize also the regional students. And it's very difficult to receive an international scholarship. And even if selected, the max award amount is 3,000. So if you are an international student and selected for a scholarship, you would still need to pay the remaining balance. But as I mentioned before, the prioritization is on regional students to promote the regional students from attending the course.
Thank you, Luciani. So yes, there is a limited amount of scholarships available. We prioritize regional people who are from local organizations or work locally in the region. But please do send in an application and before you apply for a scholarship. Any further questions? Lily, mention if just help me if I miss out on a question in the chat.
Yep, Jair's watching it as well. Yep, we have received some thank yous for this information session.
Good, you stay connected through LinkedIn. That's fantastic. From Syria, Northeast Syria. Fantastic.
And did we answer Elena's second question, Martine, how this compares to the cohort in South Africa?
Yes, I think I answered that.
Okay, there were a couple similar ones.
Yeah, so I mean the structure of the course remains the same, but we just always try to use or to invite people who are working in the region to the course to share their experience, just because they're local, and that's how we adapt to the location where we are. And if we are in Amman, we're visiting a project in Jordan. If we're in South Africa, we visit a project in South Africa. So in that sense, the topics are a little bit different, but the core topics of the course, they're still the same. wherever you are. And as Florian mentioned, we will also discuss other crises that are not regional, like Ukraine, like Gaza, like Sudan, Somalia, Yemen. Those, the bigger humanitarian crises in the world, they are always on the program of the IDHA. The applications are being reviewed as soon as they come in. We do have limited amount of scholarships available, so we will wait a little bit with the awarding of the scholarships before we have the applications in. But the earlier you apply, the better, because as I said, there's a lot of administrative things we have to get through, and it's just very, very difficult if you apply a week before the course to get everything in order and have access to all the information needed for the course. So that's why the application deadline is 20 October, but the earlier you get it in, the better. We have, so the team, we usually have about 20 to 30 people on the course. So that's the maximum number we will allow on the course, because otherwise we don't think you can learn as effectively. We have a core team present at the course, about 4 to 5 people. This includes the course director, some tutors, and the administrative support. And then we invite lecturers over. But we also have people visiting, like Florian, who will come over for 1 or 2 weeks and then and support us on the course. So it's really a rolling team from people coming in and out. There's a link on the website where you can start your application. You have to, Lily and Luciani know much better than me, but you have to create an account on the Fordham website and then start your application. And that application is pretty straightforward. It will ask you questions to fill in. And maybe, Lily, can you put the link to the application in the chat, maybe?
I have the link. I can share it.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
that's
Yes,
the link
there
to
it
all
is.
of our applications at the IIHA. Once you make an account, or if you already have an account, you should be able to see the IDHA application on the page.
And if you can always reach out to us by email or book an appointment with me if you have any further questions or if you need support in your application. Are there any other questions for us or things you'd like to know about Amman or the course, about the experience of our alum, from Lily or from Luciani?
Maybe just to add, Martine, if you're in Jordan, of course, during the course, there's not much time, but before or after, there are some wonderful, unforgettable places to see, like Wadi Rum or Petra, or Martine lived many years in Jordan, so she will be your guide in this relation.
Thanks for the offer, Florian. I'll be happy to. And in Amman, there's enough to do as well during the evenings and in the weekends. We always have students who organize some small trips on the weekend to go outside. Jordan is a relatively small country, so you can see a lot without a short distance of Amman.
Hi, Martin. It's only Haymond. Sorry, I couldn't find my raise my hand thing.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's just to go off what the lecturers have already said. So, Martin and Florian. I only went to I caveat my explanation that I attended the Pretoria course, not the Amman course. But you'll see the lecturers are very thorough in their preparation. The material will be very current, up to date with the latest crises. And I know from a Pretoria perspective that there were a lot of guest lecturers that came in to explain. As I said, the field trip to Mamalori was organized by a South African professor. and there were a number of UN experts that were on location in South Africa that came to speak. So even though there's a core lecturing team, about 5 lecturers, you will see them constantly preparing the curriculum. The materials will be thoroughly revised. And yeah, there'll be a lot of guest lecturers that will feature on your weekly schedules. So things will always be different, and the topics that you'll learn will be very varied. But it'll all come together in the assessments and the group work. And I think that's just a deliberate design of the course.
Thanks, Haymond. Thanks for your comment, Rick. Fantastic. All right. If there are no further questions, I think we are going to wrap this session up. I don't know if there's anything from my colleagues. Nothing there. Final questions from students. And thank you as well for your time, Elena, and all the others who joined this information session. We really hope to see you in Amman. And if there's anything you'll need to know, you know where to find us. Thanks a lot, everyone.